What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Erasure. I do apologize, I know it's been a few days since I've done Erasure, but you know, it's harder to shoot videos right now. It's just been so hot in Southern California, so I can only do videos in bunches of like 4 or 5, unlike sometimes I do like 8 or 10 if I have a couple free hours. But lately it's just been so hot that the window that I have to do videos is a lot narrower. It's later in the evening when it's a little bit cooler. But yeah, I did want to get back to some Erasure, so I'm going to go back to the Circus album. This is 1987, their sophomore album, and as I mentioned on a number of reactions to it, I do believe it was a real breakthrough and a sort of, you know, it propelled them into the next phase of their career. So, you know, I've been thinking about that as I've gone through it in terms of, you know, these are songs that made a big impact on people and made people more curious about Erasure and made people want to hear more new Erasure. So yeah, I'm conscious of that as we go through it. So we're up to a tune called Sometimes. Obviously that relates to, in the most general sense, a certain degree of frequency and regularity, but not a constancy or ubiquity. It is not all the time, but it is also not never, right? So it's somewhere in between on the spectrum of volume or regularity. So, you know, that could be like a physical connection, like how often do you make love with a partner, or it could be like an emotional sort of context in terms of like how often does someone make you feel special, or how often do you get to this really ecstatic place in the presence of someone or in physical intimacy with someone. So and again, if you haven't noticed, when I think about Erasure titles and tracks going into them, when, as far as I know, I haven't heard them, because again, you know, it is possible that some of the Erasure stuff in the 80s that I still haven't got to on this album, and Innocence and Wonderland, it is possible that, you know, there will be one or two where it's like, oh wait, you know, I think I have heard this on the radio. I think it's happened at least a couple times. It did happen with Victim of Love, most certainly. And by the way, I've been listening to that tune a lot. I really enjoy that tune. I just like the lyrical sort of themes at play. I love the way it rolls back into the chorus. Just a really cool tune. So, you know, just a side note, I've been listening to that a lot since I did that reaction. And again, maybe part of it is because it was nostalgic, that like, oh wait, I know this one. But again, like the synth melody that comes in the second half of that tune, just love it. So again, big ups to Erasure. But yeah, like I said, sometimes you know, because it's Erasure, I'm already thinking that it might relate to relationships and emotion and the sort of like living and dying that you do when you put yourself out there and try to find like special connections with another person. So that's what I'm thinking about as we go into it. But let's get it. This is Erasure, Sometimes, from their 1987 album, The Circus. Ooh, love that melody flare. Oh, I think I heard this. We'll see. We're already talking about bedrooms, right? I'm amused where this is going. Thinking about you, I just couldn't wait to see. Putting my arms around you, sweet falling ecstasy. We are talking about ecstasy. The truth is harder than the pain inside. I love those chimey, high, like. Why are you playing with me? Snap my sense of emptiness, you fill with your desire. My sense of emptiness, you fill with your desire. Climb in bed beside me, we can lock the world outside. Yeah. Touch me, satisfy me, warm your body next to mine. Ooh, sometimes I definitely heard this. I don't know if it was a single or if it was on one of those like weekend like radio mixes they would do on K-Rock here in Southern California, where they'd play a lot of this stuff. Erasure, Depeche. I was not prepared for the brass. came back in after that momentary dead pause. I love when he really extends those emotive notes. Broken heart that decides. So like, you're willing to keep going through some emotional carnage because facing the truth of that seems even rougher. Oh, he's doing these vocal flares and we're fading. Like synth flares too. When again, you know, my nefarious eternal enemy, the fade out. Again though, Adam, shout out to Adam. He was saying, and it was a good point, that, you know, there are certain songs where it's more appropriate and others where it feels a bit more of like a cheap way to sort of, you know, just bring a song to an ending quickly. And I would agree with that. I do think there are times where it feels more appropriate and it's sort of like, you know, it wants to just leave you with this like sense of like this never-ending atmosphere without, you know, like bringing that atmosphere forcefully to an end. So I do appreciate that, and that was a good point. So shout out to Adam. But yeah, it's another great tune, and like I said, I do think I heard that. I don't know whether it was like as a single where they're just like, here's Erasure with Sometimes, or whether it was, as I said, on K-Rock. I don't know who the DJs were. You know, this would have been like mid to late 80s, again, at least 87, I suppose. But yeah, K-Rock in particular, and I think maybe one or two other radio stations, they do like these like long mixes on the weekends, and a lot of it was like dancey sort of synth pop. So again, you'd hear like Depeche Mode and Erasure. I mentioned it when I started reacting to Erasure. Chains of Love and Who Needs Love Like That, I definitely heard in that context. They were on like, you know, my sister would record tapes of these like weekend mixes, and then, you know, she'd play it in her car and like whatever, and then occasionally I'd borrow some of the tapes to play on my own little boombox in my room. And that wasn't a boombox, it was just like a little stereo. But yeah, I remember hearing Who Needs Love Like That and Chains of Love on one of those mixes. So it's possible, you know, this tune would have been on one of them, or again, maybe they played it as a single, I'm not sure. But again, another cool tune. I love Andy's voice, Vince's bass lines, his synth work, like the sequencing, the little like dead pause moments, and then, you know, the reformulation of the tune on the other side of the measure. Just a magician. So yeah, like I honestly, as I'm going through their catalog, there's not a single one where I'm like, it's a bit of a pass, which again, I'm going to use this as contrast because people who've been following this channel a while will know what a big Depeche Mode fan I am. So when I say that there are occasionally Depeche Mode tunes, not many, maybe like 3 or 4 over their whole catalog, where like from the very first bar, I'm kind of like, you know, maybe not my favorite. Like, there's one that I'm thinking of, and I actually forget the name because it's a tune that I haven't listened to as much as most of the others. But there's one, like, the synth that starts the very beginning of the tune. It's not pleasant to my ear. It's like, like, it sounds kind of sharp like glass, and it's, you know, kind of like attacking my ear. But there hasn't been an Erasure tune of an analogous character where, like, you know, from the very first bar, it was kind of like, we'll have to see if this gets better, like, whatever. So again, I love Depeche Mode, you know, with my life. But the fact that, you know, there are some Depeche Mode tunes over time where I'm like, you know, maybe not my favorite, it's a testament to, like, Vince and Andy that they really seem to, like, you know, they have this kind of magic, whether, you know, it's like the way that Vince kind of sets Andy's voice, and obviously Vince's production skills on their own, or in their own right. They just have this really sort of magical combination. So again, I'm enjoying going through the catalog. Hopefully you are too. Let me know what you think of this one. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.